Before performing any work on a firearm, we must ensure the weapon is cleared. Place the manual safety in the safe position, eject any magazine, and physically and visually check the chamber. Now that the weapon is safe, we are ready to proceed.
Basically what this part does, it's so small I'll have to show you a cutout that we made. It replaces this lever in an 80 series Colt. And the whole theory behind this is that in an 80 series Colt, you have firearm pin block safety and two levers. The first lever works off the trigger. Depressing the trigger moves this lever, which then lifts this lever up and depresses the firing pin block so the firing pin can then strike the primer. 80 series firing pin block safety, and it works off the trigger. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger and you'll watch the firing pin block coming up and down. And what we're going to do is we're going to bypass the trigger with our new part. It's going to work off the grip safety so you don't have all that tension and stress on the trigger, and you can achieve a far superior trigger pull and retain your safety parts. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Can you? Okay. Original part. The part goes in the pistol this way, okay? Lever pointing away from the pistol. Okay, it goes in like that. And the easiest way to work with this that I find is putting a little grease on it so the part doesn't slide all around. It kind of stays put for you. Let's get that off. And we'll turn it around. Put on. Okay, so we're going to slide it in. This is going to be a little tricky, only because I'm holding it so far away from me. Oh, got it. Okay, it's in place. Now, there's something I'm going to mention here. When you're working on a 80 series, you normally will hold it like this and while you're putting in the part, because the original lever lays on the back of the trigger ball and holds it in place. Well, our part does not have the leg on it, so it'll rotate around. So that's why when you're installing it, you're going to hold the pistol in this position like this. And make sure it's all the way where it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, put the Sear spring in. Okay, can you still see the part right there?
Yes.
Grab the hammer strut and line it up. There we go. push the safety in. There we go. Okay.
Okay. See that?
The lever, 80 series top lever here, the one that makes contact with the plunger and the slide, is sticking a little bit above the frame, which won't allow the slide to slide on. Okay, so what we need to do is remove some of that bump, which I already did on this one here. And I'll show you with our detailed little drawing here. Is we're just removing some of the metal off the bottom of this bump. And it's really important, like if you have to remove all the bump, you're gonna have a 90-degree corner right about here. And you don't want that, because the way this works is it's rotating on this inside. Actually, when you take it all off, you're going to have a 90 here. You can basically kind of disregard the front. You don't want to have a 90 here, because it's going to dig into the grip safety. The grip safety is going to rotate this thing like this. It's going to move like that. So you want to put the same, when you remove metal off the bottom, you want to put that same little curvature on the back right here. And all you need, and I have a file with safe edges and a stone. If you don't have a stone, you just take some sandpaper like that and wrap it around your file to polish it off. But basically, it's just filing it and then putting the safe edge against the part like this, and then rounding the inside corner like that. Okay, so I'm going to remove this part and put in the one that I fitted. Okay, I don't know if you can see this with the camera, but the top of that's flush now with the frame. Now watch when I push the grip safety. And then watch it's all about the grip safety now. This block, this is what's preventing the trigger firing pin from going forward. When it's pushed up, then the firing pin. So it's basically like this, okay, up here like that. So the firing pin cannot fire. When you grip the trigger, pull the trigger, it pushes this plunger up. Now the firing pin's clear to go forward. And our part does the same thing, except for it bypasses the trigger. It's going to grip safety. When you depress the grip safety, it's pushing this up so the firing pin can go forward. So basically, eliminating the trigger to actuate it, it takes all that spring pressure, it takes all that funny heavy weight, the gritty feeling, everything out of the trigger. It's basically It's basically now a 70 series gun instead of an 80, okay, with this part. Okay, and I'm going to go through and show fitting the part. If you notice, there's a little bump, and usually on 90% of the pistols I fitted this to, we removed that bump. You don't need it. We put that bump there for extra fitting because I did run across some pistols that it wouldn't work with this removed. And because our very first prototype, we made it to where it was even with the bottom of this, and it worked fine on a lot of pistols, and then some we didn't get enough lift. So we added this bump for fitting so there's enough lift. On this officer's model, the piece went right in the way it came out of the package, and it worked fine. On this government model, it wouldn't work. I had to remove the bump. So basically, this is a fitting bump. Okay, we just put extra metal there so you can fit it to your pistols. Benefits on using the part is it eliminates the timing issues when you're doing a trigger on an 80 series. It eliminates firing pin hits on the block, firing pin block in the slide because of timing issues. It lets you achieve a 70 series trigger job with an 80 series gun with all the parts installed. And another way of doing a trigger job in the past is people would clip coils off that little spring for the plunger so there's less resistance, which can cause a reliability problem. And all that stays intact. You don't have to cut any springs. You don't have to remove the parts. Basically, this part takes care of that and gives you the 80 series. On some of the stock 1911s that I've worked on, just putting the part in without a trigger job or anything, anywhere from a quarter to a half a pound difference in the pull alone, because you're bypassing the trigger having to push the levers. So it's a pretty neat concept, which I'm excited about, and was really happy to work with Strike to get this on the market. These are several pistols that I installed them in. And it doesn't make any difference if it's a commander, an officer's model, or government model. It all works the same. This has a Wilson beaver tail, and you can see the lever move up and down. This is a commander with I think this is so old, I think this might be an S&A beaver tail, but it also has the same. And depending on what you want, for carry guns, I'm 4 pounds plus, but you can go, just like with the 70 series, you can go all the way down to whatever you want. 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, 3 pounds, you're going to get the trigger now with this part installed.
For more information, visit strikeindustries.com.